Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reds Room, where we take an in-depth look at Cincinnati Reds memorabilia. I'm your host, Sean Sparks. Joining me today and over the following two episodes, all the way from Huntington, West Virginia, Mark Reed. Mark, welcome to the Reds Room.
Sean, thanks for having me.
Hey, man. Pleasure to have you. So before we talk about some of the items you brought today, I like to kind of, discuss your history behind,
Okay.
not necessarily collecting in your instance, right? Because you're not really a big collector. Most people know you as a vendor.
Yeah.
Over the years.
I come up, twice a year to Cincinnati. I'm in Huntington, like you said, so about 3 hours away. So I come up typically for the two shows at Moeller every year, in last weekend in April and then Thanksgiving weekend. And then the last couple of years, I've done Reds Fest as well, which is like the week right after Thanksgiving show. So probably like a lot of people, kind of grew up collecting cards, baseball cards.
Sure.
Kind of got into selling a little bit and then just kind of evolved, getting into more of the oddball stuff, stuff not everybody has. And then as I did it more and more, I found, what I'm selling is I'm selling ticket stubs and I'm selling pins and I'm selling yearbooks and I'm selling like the weird stuff that you never see, and I'm not selling that many cards. And I think there comes a point where most serious collectors or whatever, at some point there's only so many cards out there, and if you're just doing red stuff, it's at some point you're going to get all the Reds cards. And so with the oddball type stuff, as we like to call it, there's so much stuff out there. And anyway, so that's what I found myself selling more and more. That's what kind of appealed to me as far as trying to track that stuff down, trying to find it. I mean, because, like a lot of collectors, the fun is kind of in the hunt.
And the thing that I always find so fascinating about you, because, people have certainly been to national shows, and you are pretty much Cincinnati based. You do Moeller, and you're now doing Reds Fest as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you've done them in the past, I believe, as well, right?
Yeah, Reds Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did it, back before they, kind of redesigned it and made it a lot better. I did it in 2018, and when I went back and checked my records, it's been like 12 years since I've done it. So I was gone for a long time, then tried it, and did fairly well. I was pretty happy with it. So I wasn't really sure how well I mostly sell older vintage type stuff, so I wasn't sure how well that would appeal to, the Reds Fest crowd, but I was pleasantly surprised. So I'm going to give it so I'm doing it again, 2019.
Okay, great. Well, we look forward to seeing you there for sure. But most of us, and you are, one of the things that's so fascinating about you as a vendor, and that's how you and I got to know each other. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I've bought a lot of things from you, and you've bought some things from me.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Back and forth. And, that you deal almost exclusively in Reds, and you have an extensive knowledge about Reds memorabilia.
Yeah.
And specifically like the I don't know what you want to call them, like the non-game use, more
right.
Not that type of stuff. You're more into like like today we'll talk about tickets, but
yes.
And
probably definitely lower end, probably less expensive, generally speaking, than the game use stuff. That's definitely not my expertise, but tickets, pins, trinkets, almost anything with a Reds logo on it, it seems like.
And you have, in my personal opinion, you have an extensive knowledge of the value, and you've seen probably more than about anybody has seen.
Yeah, well, thanks. It's fun. It's a hobby for me. Hopefully, what I tell people at the shows is, I'm going there, trying to sell what I can, hopefully making a profit on it, and I take that money and go buy some more stuff.
Absolutely.
So come back to the next show with some new goodies to bring.
And although you kind of more exclusively vendor, I think any big collector, even such as myself, and I know people have seen me vending, but really I don't do it. I just do it part time because every collector is a vendor at some point.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Sure.
To some extent. So.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into these tickets because I'm excited about these. This is something that a lot of people collect. Even myself, I have a fair share of tickets. Mm-hmm. And tickets can mean anything because tickets are really stuff. Some people collect them. Hey, this was my first game.
Oh, yeah.
There are so many different ways you can collect tickets.
Absolutely.
But I think specifically today we're going to talk about important games, opening days. We got some World Series tickets here. A Pete Rose, looks like a hit streak ticket, and
Right.
some All-Star games. But so let's take a look. So like one of the first ones I see here, and I'll hold it up here and we'll show a close-up for our audience here. This is a Game 5 1975 World Series ticket. It's filled box, so it's blue.
Yeah.
And something like that. Now this one is actually getting them slabbed like that. That adds value, I assume.
Typically, that's one of those things that's kind of individual preference.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk to people that say, I don't want my tickets, cards, whatever, autographs, whatever it might be. I don't want them slabbed. If I buy them that way, I'm going to crack them out. But that being said, I mean, I found in my experience that they typically sell a little bit better if they're slabbed, if they're authenticated. But I don't typically do that myself. I mean, almost all the ones that I have like that, I've bought them that way. So I don't take ones that I have raw and send them into PSA or whoever,
right,
to get them authenticated.
And as we can see in the photos, you have 150 on that, so that's probably about retail value on something like that.
Yeah. Now the thing about that one is, like, tickets typically you don't see them grade as high as you think they might. Just people take them to the game, they stick them in their pocket, whatever, and I think they grade those similar to that they would a baseball card. So they're looking at the corners, they're looking for creases, they're looking for anything like that. So
and that one's near mint.
Yeah, it's graded a 7, near
7,
mint.
right.
So that's pretty strong grade for a ticket.
Is it okay? And this is something I really don't know. I mean, is PSA the only one that grades tickets?
As far as I know.
As far as you know, okay.
I
don't know that answer.
I don't think Beckett does, and I don't think. I think PSA.
That's the only way I've ever seen them.
Yeah.
Slabbed is with PSA. So.
And my experience, I mean, like I said, I don't get a lot done myself. I sent a few tickets in about a year ago, and it took like 3 months. I mean, and I've heard them taking even longer than that. So it's not a quick turnaround process.
Yeah, and of course they're also known for grading autographs and cards and whatnot too.
Yeah.
I certainly like PSA a lot. But now talking while we're on the PSA, now we're going to look at this 1940 World Series Game 2. This is a stub, not a full ticket.
Yeah.
Which is something I'd also want to talk about because full tickets are always worth much more, correct?
Yeah, almost always.
Exclusively, yeah. And this one was graded excellent with a grade of 5. And and this looks like you have a value of 200 on that one. Anything you want to add about that one? About these 40 tickets? Is there a certain game maybe worth more or less? Or?
In the 40 World Series, really, I think Game 7 carries a little bit of a premium. The final game, the Reds won the 1940 World Series. Not a huge premium, but definitely a little bit over the first 6 games. And I found that the games played in Cincinnati, at Crosley, carry a little bit of a premium over the games played in Detroit too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but really, that's graded a 5. That's a pretty strong grade, for a ticket from 1940.
A ticket of that age, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And here's one. Now this is a Browning Perfect Game ticket stub. This looks like, I guess that's green, or what is that's? Is that a green seed, or is this kind of looks silver?
Yeah, it's kind of silver.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. But this was September 16th, 1988.
Right.
And you have a retail value of that at $125.
Yeah.
That one looks like it's in really, really good shape. Is this something, I don't know if I've ever even seen one of these graded. I'm sure there is some out there.
Oh, yeah, there are for sure.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah. That's one probably you see a little bit more frequently, the full ticket as opposed to a stub. That was a game, I think there wasn't a huge crowd there that night.
But everybody says they went, right?
Yeah, everybody says they were there, yeah. And that's the thing about that one is a lot of people like to buy them to get them signed. So, Browning's a pretty available.
He is
in the area.
In the Cincinnati area, for sure.
Yeah, so a lot of people like to buy those and get them signed.
Yeah, and I've seen many of these signed over the years.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. This is, I love this ticket because it has which I will show here for our audience, has that steamboat,
Yeah.
paddle boat, whatever on there, and that's the 70 All-Star game.
Yep.
And this is red. Now I know these have different colors,
Yeah.
and I think this would have been a red seat, I assume.
I think so. Yeah.
I've seen blue,
I've seen
yellow,
blue
and green.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have a retail value of that at 100, and this one also looks like it's in really good shape.
Yep, it is.
And Have you ever seen any of these full tickets? Because I think I have.
Like one or two.
One or two,
definitely pretty scarce.
So just on this particular ticket, we won't do every. What would you retail value on a full ticket stub of that if it was ever found?
Oh, like the full unused
Sure.
ticket? Wow. I'd say at least 300 probably.
Okay.
Possibly more.
Possibly more.
But if you think about the ratio of the full tickets to the stubs, I mean, how many people, how many tickets went untorn? I mean, it's got to be a pretty small amount.
Oh yeah, because everybody would want to go to
Yeah.
that game.
And the same with the World Series game. So,
And this is one here. Look at this. This is one I actually have in my collection. The final Crosley opening day ticket. And these are always really small tickets like this. This is how they did at Crosley. Let's see. This was Sparky's first game. You've got that on there, and you got a retail value of 200 on that.
right. So those, I'd say the opening day tickets from that era, typically go for half that.
Okay.
Now that one's more expensive because, really three things. It's the last opening day at Crosley.
Mm-hmm.
It's Sparky's first game with the Reds. Hall of Famer.
Yep.
And it's Concepcion's first game with the Reds. So that's three pretty big events there.
Which is why I have it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes.
But and I also notice now this says upper grandstand. Would that matter on, because they all look the same, really, unless you just read that.
No, I don't think so. I get asked that from time to time. I don't really think that has any bearing on the value of the ticket. Now, other than some people either have a preference in terms of the color of the ticket, where we talked about like the All-Star game, for example, they're kind of color coded.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have a preference maybe in the color, just as far as aesthetics and how it looks. And also, some collectors kind of want one of everything, so they want one of each of the different colors that they made them in.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But like the opening day tickets, I don't think there's I think they're all in the same color. So the location in the stadium for something like that doesn't really have any bearing on the value.
Okay. And then here we talked about a Game 5 slabbed, PSA slab ticket, but this is actually a Game 7. It's from the green seats. And this was in Fenway in Boston. And this is obviously a very important game in Reds history.
Oh, yeah.
And that's unslabbed, and it's 125 retail value of what you have on it. But, it's not slabbed. But is it just because of the significance of Game 7, I assume?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I'd say the typical game from the 75 series, in good shape, probably $50. But Game 6 obviously carries pretty big premium because that's the game Fisk hit the famous home run. And
that's the game that the Red Sox thought they won the whole series, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's probably, good shape. That's a $300 ticket probably.
Okay.
And I think it appeals to a lot of people, obviously beyond Reds collectors for sure, but even just baseball collectors in general, because that's such an iconic play in baseball history. But yeah, this just being Game 7 on this ticket, the final game, Reds win the series, so it carries a bit of a premium over the other games.
And what's here? Pull that one off and let's take a look at that one.
Yep, so that's a Tom Seaver no-hitter ticket from 78.
Yeah.
I've seen prices kind of all over the place on those.
Have you?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask a kind of an odd question. And you got a 185 retail value. Set that back on front there. And have you ever seen one signed? Because we all know it's really hard to get a Seaver signature.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I have. And you would think they would be out there.
Yeah,
because he obviously signed autographs for a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen one.
I don't think I have either.
And I don't even know what one. What would you, if you ever found one signed, what would you value that at?
250, 300 maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And maybe if you got it authenticated or slab, maybe even more than that.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is about some of the tickets of that size, there's not a great spot on there to put an autograph. I mean, it doesn't mean you wouldn't or couldn't do it, but some of the other bigger, these World Series tickets where they're a little bit bigger, could probably hold an autograph better.
I agree. Yeah, it would look better for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the signature's going to fill this whole ticket up, these smaller ones.
Yeah.
Game 1 of Rose Hit Streak. Now you got an $85 value on that.
Yeah.
So this was the very start. I'm trying
Yeah,
to find it. It's June 14th, 1978. Okay.
Right. So obviously nobody would have known at the time that a hit streak was starting. So I see the tickets a lot more frequently, like from game 44. The last game of the streak. So I just came across that. I thought that was pretty cool, being game number 1 of the hit streak.
I would be curious to know if anyone out there, and there's plenty of Rose collectors, so I imagine this is probably true, has tried to get all 44 games.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But, I've seen collections that have at least the ones in Riverfront, but getting all the away games is, I think, a pretty big challenge.
That would be real challenging.
Yeah.
But I bet there's somebody trying.
I'm sure you're right.
All right.
I'm sure you're right.
Well, this has been fantastic learning about this. And we'll, till next time, we'll take a look at some more of Mark Reed's great items. And until then, happy collecting, everyone.